What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Goddess Zee, and I'm here with another podcast episode for ya. And I hope everybody has been taking care of themselves, mind, body, and spirit, because that's what it's all about. When any one of those things are out of balance, then we are out of balance. And I say that all the time because it's important to try to have that holistic integration of mind, body, and spirit together in order for us to have whole, holistic lives. Okay. And so, if you are new to this channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. I talk about all sorts of things like ancestral healing, spiritual development. I actually have guests on the show sharing their expertise, and we go in a variety of different subjects, all things pertaining to holistics and spirituality. So, definitely be sure to follow me so that you don't miss when I drop another episode. My guests are on the episodes on the first and the third Fridays of the month. And then I pop in periodically to drop some wisdom and some downloads for you guys as well. And of course, if you are coming back, welcome back, fam. I appreciate you so much. I hope you are enjoying these episodes, especially particularly the episodes with the guests. I've been having some pretty phenomenal, awesome guests on, and I have some more guests that are going to be coming as well that I have planned for you guys. And so the topics are getting deeper, the topics are getting juicier. I even got one guy that's going to be coming back to do a part two. So you definitely want to make sure that you're following me and staying tuned to what is happening in this holistic and spiritual AF world. Okay. So first and foremost, you can find me all over social media. I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, Instagram at Holistic and Spiritual AF. I also have a newsletter slash blog slash journal on Substack. So be sure to follow me over there if you're into reading. And actually, this episode, I'm going to create a blog out of it because there's so much information. I'm not going to be able to cover it all in the podcast. So you'll definitely want to get the nuggets that are going to be inside of this podcast episode over on Substack as well. Okay. I'll have all that information down in the description to make it easier to follow me ways. Okay. So now that I done ran my mouth already before we even got into the topic today, today's topic is going to be about activating your spiritual gifts. Like, are you activating your spiritual gifts or are you utilizing your spiritual gifts for those who are further along on the journey? And we're going to be talking about the specific gifts of clairaudience, claircognizance, clairsentience, and clairvoyance. Okay. I think that's all of them. Okay. We're going to be given different descriptions as to what that actually looks like, as well as ways to activate them if you're somebody who maybe is interested in expanding your spiritual gifts. Okay. So I'm going to go into my story a little bit, and I've got a lot of my story all over this podcast. So you can definitely just check out other past episodes there. And I go into more detail about different things. You know, I've been on the journey now for 20 years, 2 decades. Okay. Gosh, I say that and I feel like, my gosh, whatever. I'm just going to leave it at that. Your girl is a vet in the game. Okay. And I started out with my own healing process, and I went through the journey of, studying under different mentors, classes, becoming initiated in a lot of different things. I healed a lot of my own trauma, and then I began to take that out into the world and work with other people. So I also offer spiritual consultations for people. I'm a Reiki master. I'm also a level 1 Supreme Science Qigong instructor that doesn't actually practice except for myself. So, I need to work on that. But definitely those other things, you can check out my website and get information on that as well. So I'm definitely somebody who is well versed in the realm of spirituality and spiritual practices, spiritual gifts, and I like to give that back to people, particularly in the time that we're living in right now, as we're about to enter this age of Aquarius, and we are having a mass awakening around the planet of people who are going to want to be or being activated in a variety of different ways. It's a really exciting time to be on the planet right now. If your soul is here right now in the present moment, you have purpose here on this planet, and you are also a major part of the human consciousness elevation collective. So it's imperative for us to start thinking about things more in alignment with spirituality and then less in alignment with materialism. And that's just right up my alley. I feel like I was made for this, you know what I'm saying? Because I was always on this from a young age. And now I'm starting to see the benefits of why it was necessary, not only for my own soul's growth and journey, but also to be able to help humanity on the planet. And I'm excited. Like, I feel like, yes, that's what I'm here for. Let's get into it, shall we? Because, we've been living kind of foul for a long time, and that was all by design. But anyway, back to them spiritual gifts, because your girl gets off when I go on one and I start having downloads all over the place and I be over here and over there. But I started my journey early, and I talked about that once before. I was headed for self-destruction, and things were looking not, they were looking bleak in the direction I was going. And I had a therapist that actually got me into yoga and meditation. And that's really how I hit the ground running in a conscious manner. And from that point forward, I started experiencing different things as well as remembering different experiences. So I think it's important when we talk about spiritual gifts and activating these spiritual gifts to understand that everybody has spiritual gifts, okay? If you've ever heard of the sixth sense, we know about the five senses of the 3D realm: our hearing, our sight, our taste, our touch, and our smell, and then when you hear about the sixth sense, and people always assume that at one point that meant like the paranormal, which that's part of it, but there's other types of spiritual gifts that we all have that lie outside of the physical, more material side of things that we have access to. And I've talked about it before when I talked about intuition. It's like have exercising a muscle. And if you don't use it, it atrophies and it becomes kind of useless, but you can reactivate it, just like riding a bike. If you haven't rode a bike in 20 years and all of a sudden you try to get on a bike, you're going to be a little rusty. Your balance is going to be off. You may fall. Roller skating, same thing. So it's the same thing with your spiritual gifts. If you're not utilizing them, you will have to reactivate them, and it will take some conscious effort and some practice on your part. So, as a little girl, I remember some of the things that I experienced that I recognize today were part of my spiritual gifts. I had telepathic communication and a telepathic relationship with my ancestors, where I was able to hear them and I was able to speak back to them, and we were able to have a two-way conversation. So that would be considered as clairaudient. Okay, if you take the sound of the word audient and break it down, then you understand that this is the audible side of things, where I could actually hear spirits and my spirit guides and my ancestors. Now, that's pretty deep. As a little kid, if you had told me that, I'd have been like, huh? And I think things come to us as we're ready to understand them. So that is a form of clairaudience. Something else that I was able to do is I have very vivid dreams. And I think a lot of us at some point have very vivid dreams without even recognizing it, particularly as children, because we're much more open and receptive to the spirit realm than we are when we become conditioned by society and work and whatever the hell else it happens to us along the journey. So that would be considered the gift of clairvoyance, the ability to be able to see things. And then, of course, as I started to go on in my conscious journey, I would do meditations, visualization meditations, and things like that. And that was strengthening that muscle of clairvoyance. Okay. So when I say these things, some of these people, some of you probably thought that, oh, okay, I don't know what she's talking about. I don't have these gifts. But as I start to describe and explain them to you, you probably have had some experiences with them, or you still do. And so the purpose of this podcast episode is we're going to actually be talking about how to either activate those or strengthen those. Okay. So we talked about clairaudience, we talked about clairvoyance. Another one is clairsentient. This is probably the one that you've heard the most. Okay. If you think clairsentient, excuse me, I say sentient, it could be sentient. I don't know, child. I don't need to know all that. I just need to know what it do. Okay. So another one is clairsentient. And most people know this one to be empathic. Okay. Where you can feel what another person is feeling. You can have compassion for another person because you feel and you take on what it is that they're feeling as your own. And you can sometimes maybe walk into a room and you can feel something is off, like the energy of the room is not right, or the energy of the room is great. You know what I'm saying? And so that ability to be able to feel the energy of something without actually physically touching it, that gift and ability is clairsentience. And so most people, I think, can definitely relate to having some experience with being clairsentient or empathic. We throw empathic around all over the place like it's some sort of a special assignment, when really everybody has the ability to be empathic or clairsentient. If you have children, I mean, you got to know this, because when you feel for your children as if you feel it for yourself. If your children go through something, you want to take on what they're feeling and absorb that so that they don't have to feel so much of it. So that in itself is a form of being empathic and being clairsentient. Okay. Now, some people can do it on a broader scale. Sometimes this causes people to become drained and their energy is drained and they don't know why. And that's because they haven't learned how to use that skill and ability properly. Okay. So the more you know, the more you grow. And that's why it's important to kind of have this conversation so that you're not afraid of these gifts and abilities. You don't have to be worried about turning them on, but just learning how to utilize them properly, because they're very beneficial and they help you to guide you in the process of life to be able to have some extra tools in your belt. So let's see, we talked about clairvoyance, clairaudience. Oh, we didn't talk about clairvoyance. Yes, we did. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentient. And then the next one is going to be claircognizant. Claircognizant. This is one of my favorite ones, because claircognizant is, you think about the cognition, the mind, the knowing, the thoughts. Claircognizant means to an overwhelming sense of all knowing. Okay. And that's probably one of my favorite ones, because that's one of the ones that I had. And it's like the hardest one to describe to people who don't understand that, because people don't understand how you just know shit. Like, and I'm like, I just know. Like, some people need to have a book to explain to them, like, exactly how it is and why it's that way. That's not the way it is for me. For me, I just know. And that makes things a lot better for me, to just know stuff. All right. So I'm trying to make sure I didn't leave anything out. Um, Another way of describing clear cognizance is, ah, sorry guys, I gotta get my notes here. Yeah, suddenly knowing the solution to a problem without knowing how you know. Very hard to describe to people. Fastest way to get people thinking you crazy. That's a fact. Feeling immediate certainty about someone or something without tangible evidence. Now that could also be connected to your clear sentient ability, your empathic ability, and you'll see that some of these overlap. And when you use them, the more you strengthen these muscles of these things, you're going to be starting to turn on some other stuff as well. Okay. And we're going to actually talk about how to activate them. But I just wanted to give you guys some examples of this. Okay. Receiving an idea or an insight out of the blue, like all of a sudden, what do we call that? Download. Okay. That's a download when all of a sudden you get this information that you never knew before, but you know it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always been there. Like, you just reached in your DNA and pulled something out of the database to be able to have this inner knowingness. And that's why it's all interconnected. When I talk about raising your frequency and your DNA, and activating that database that's comprised of thousands and thousands of years and lifetimes ago of information, we're much more powerful and much more spectacular than a lot of times I think we are. We think we are, because of the way that society has conditioned us to kind of just be worker bees. Like, all you need to focus on is just going to work and paying them bills, and don't think too much outside of the box. Don't start going out of the planet and thinking about the moon and the stars, and where we at on the axis and all of these different things. We just need you to work, to kind of keep this system going. So once you start turning these things on, all sorts of amazing things start to happen. And this is accessible to everybody. Anybody that just seeks that information and does a little bit of the elbow grease and go ahead and start practicing some things. Having a premonition. Everybody has had a premonition that something is going to happen. I just feel like this is going to happen. I just know it's something off with that. Okay. These are all spiritual gifts that a lot of times we just kind of brush away and blow away. Intuitively sensing when a loved one is in trouble. Definitely, this one goes back to parents. Mamas know. Okay, mamas know. And when we're talking about clear cognizant, we're also talking about intuition. Okay, so it's all interconnected. And so I wanted to kind of give a brief description of some of those, and I'm going to go back through the other ones as well. And then we're going to also talk about how to activate them, because the bottom line is everybody has these things. I'm sure as I had described a lot of this stuff, you're like, oh, yeah, yeah, I know that. And, we got a big fancy word about stuff. Like, me being claircognizant. I'm actually all of these. But being clear cognizant, which being my main one, where I just know I get downloads all the time. I receive information. I'm so open and receptive to the spirit realm that I'm constantly receiving information. I'm not the type of person who necessarily gets everything out of a book. Like the first part of my journey, a big portion of my part, I did a lot of classes, a lot of studies, a lot of books, a lot of this and a lot of that. And I had mentors along the way that would be like, okay, you don't need another book. It's time for you to go out here and live this and experience this life. My ancestors would be like, stop going to other people to teach you what you already have inside of you. And so I had to start to activate things within inside of myself to be able to access that. I had to start to trust what was coming from within inside of me. And that sometimes was a little more challenging because I didn't have the crutch of somebody else teaching me. I learned things along the way. Now I still get my own healing work done and I still work on myself, with other people as well as by myself. But I'm not up under a guru of any type because I have progress to a certain point where my spiritual gifts are activated enough and my connection with my ancestors and spirit guides is so strong that I should be able to get the information that I need. And sometimes when I lack clarity, then I'll use divination tools and things like that. Or sometimes I may go to an outside trusted spiritual friend or advisor. Pretty much everybody's my friend now that I deal with on that level. So we talked about claircognizant, one of my favorites, clear knowing, clairvoyance. We talked about actually being able to see things. We talked about having vivid dreams, seeing symbols or colors during meditation. Some people can see auras, receiving visual flashes or mini movies. Okay, that's visualization. I do that all the time. Everybody daydreams. Okay, everybody time travels. Okay, if I tell you to think about the worst thing that happened to you when you were 5 years old, you would be able to go right back to that moment right now at this time and picture and visualize everything exactly as it is. Okay. So that is a form of clairvoyance, experiencing deja vu. Okay. With vivid clarity. When you're just sitting there, you're like, I've been here before. Like you're in a room somewhere that you've never been in this physical lifetime, and you looking at everything like, I remember this happening. We have these gifts and abilities. That's our spirit saying, wake up, wake up. Remember who you are. Remember who you truly are. You are a spirit having a human experience. Okay. Clairsentient, clear feeling, just you could feel. We already talked about empathic to the bone. I think everybody knows that. And then, of course, clear audiences. Clear audience may start out different ways. Okay. Like for me, I can hear very clear conversations with my ancestors and my spirit guides. I've been doing that since I was a little girl. For some people just starting out, it may sound like a soft whisper or a voice giving you guidance. Some people call it spirit, some people call it the voice of God. Some people can hear some. All it is you're hearing something that's not an insane thought telling you to do something that you ain't got no business. And it's not a crazy thing. It's giving you guidance, and you're able to hear that. And these are things that other people can't hear, and it can't be described on the physical plane. Okay. So hopefully you guys got some value out of that. Okay. That was a lot of information chunked up and chunked up. Okay. But I definitely wanted to kind of break those down because I thought it was very, very important to understand what we talk about before we start talking about it. Okay. Now let's get to the fun part. Okay. Let's talk about actually activating these spiritual gifts. Now I got to get into my personal experience because that's what I do. And I also need something to drink. All right. So for me, because things started very early for me, I didn't have a whole lot of formal training, and I was being taught by my ancestors, and my ancestors were guiding me. And it probably was a little easier when I was a kid because I didn't question anything. I just kind of like went along with what these trusted spirits were telling me to do, and I trusted them. I felt safe with them, and they weren't telling me to do anything to harm myself or anybody, so it could be bad. And they were always with me, like they were always there with me, and I was never alone. And I find it very ironic how later on in the life, I could find myself saying, "Oh, I'm so lonely, and I'm in solitude, and I'm this and that," and they've been there the whole time, like the whole time, A1 since day one. Like I don't think there's a person on the planet that's as tight as me and my ancestors. Okay, so some things like my vivid dreaming, they just happen. And for me, these things, I had these experiences as a kid in order for me to get to a place that when I, got older and was consciously going through this journey, that I was able to say, oh, aha, that's what that is, and I had the memory of and the reflection of. But my ancestors and my spirit guides had guided me the whole way, to just constantly be like, remember who you are. So with clairaudience, which is the telepathic conversation that we're talking about here. Let's say you're somebody who's like, okay, well, how do I get that going? I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to hear my ancestors. I hear people ask me that all the time. How do I get in touch with? How do I this? And I say everything is a practice, You can build that relationship with your ancestors, but you want to be able to hear them. So there's certain things that are going to be necessary for any of these gifts. Some of these are going to overlap, okay, to begin to activate these. So for clairaudience, something that you can do is meditation. Okay, meditation is just take that down the line. You can do meditation. You want to start doing either one of these first. You always want to start with getting quiet, because if you can't hear the difference between your thoughts, and then you won't know the difference between what your spirit guides are saying to you, what your ancestors are saying, who sounds like what, who would say this, what type of personality style that one has over the other, because I have different ancestors, okay? I have bloodline ancestors and I have intergalactic ancestors. I have ancestors for different functions. I've got healing guides, I've got divinatory guides. I've got ancestors that walk with me every day, okay, that are not quite as high ascended as the high ascended masters who come down strictly for business. Like they don't come down here, they come down here for transformation. Do not call them playing no games with that silly 3D mundane stuff, okay? Like they don't play that. But I have my ones that I walk with on a daily basis that just kind of help me out with little different things, like there's a parking spot right there. Like, don't forget to get this, that type of stuff. And those are like my buddies. Like they joke around, they have a personality. I know their style. I know the difference between them. And I know the difference between my high ascended ancestors. And I know when I'm getting ready to do some healing work with somebody, the difference between them. I know the difference between my bloodline ancestral representatives. I know these different types of entities and spirit beings because I have activated these things and I continue to practice these things. Okay. So that's the thing. Don't try to activate nothing if you're not going to continue to use it and grow it. Just simple as that. Enjoy the conversation and keep it moving. But if you really are trying to figure out how and you can't quite get some solid information, then you definitely clicked on the right podcast, because your girl is always dropping gems. All right. And I do the work, and I like to deal with people who actually do the work, not people who want to hear something, want to know something, and don't do nothing with it. So I truly believe that this message will reach the proper people, because that's the whole purpose of my ancestors getting me to do this in the first place. All right. So we talked about meditation all across the board, sound healing. Sound healing is really good. If you ever get to go to a sound bowl therapy session, that's a really great opportunity to be able to raise the frequency in your DNA. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is going to overlap, because the frequencies and the tonalities of the different sounds are going to hit different stuff inside of you. Same thing with the African drums. Anything that's going to give you a different type of frequency and change your DNA sound wise is going to help you to open up that gift. Okay. African drums are very powerful for me. African drums take my ass into a trance like ASAP. Okay. And I had to find that out, when I started to go through my travels of African spirituality. And I'm just sitting at this little event, somebody playing the drums. And I go off into a trance. I'm like, oh, okay, wow. So you're going to learn things about yourself. You're going to learn things about your gifts as you go through this journey. So don't cheat yourself on that part. Practice listening. And in order to be able to listen better, you need to be quiet, because we have a million gajillion thoughts going through our head. And it's like I said, it's crazy up there. You have to have some meditation time to be able to silence some of this stuff, to even just hear the crazy stuff you got going on in the beginning, So learn. And once you start to activate that, you start to develop that, then you'll be able to hear things more. You'll be able to hear stuff a little bit further. You'll be able to notice the birds chirping out there. You'll be able to notice all different types of noises inside of your house. You know what I'm saying? So, just go ahead and practice listening. Ask for signs through sound. Now, I always say, go to your spirit guides and your ancestors. preferably your ancestors first, because your ancestors are always going to be your first line of defense when you start walking and waltzing out here in the spirit realm. And they're going to help to guide you. They're going to help to guide you in a way that's going to be beneficial for yourself. Okay. And then, of course, affirmations. Affirmations are really good as well. This is going to help you, like, if you want to be more open and go ahead and start speaking that stuff into yourself. I'm open to hearing divine guidance. I affirm the connection to clear audience abilities. Go ahead and start changing that frequency, your DNA, start to clean that stuff out, and all of a sudden you can start to receive. That lets the universe know, uh-oh, she ready, uh-oh, he's ready. So you definitely want to go ahead and throw in some affirmations. And like I said, go get with your spirit guides and your ancestors. They're going to help to guide you. And once you can listen and hear more, you're going to hear them. You're going to hear them dropping messages all the time and saying things like, yeah, get a journal, like, go ahead, you know what, you need to make sure you do your meditation, like just stuff like that. You're going to hear, and they're going to be assisting you along the way. And you'll also hear your own intuition say, hey, don't forget to do your meditation, those types of things. Hey, why don't you go to a yoga class today? You'll start getting the things that it is that you are trying to receive. And it's going to activate all of this at once, honestly. Clairsentience. I love this one because this is going to help you to have some control over that ability to be empathic. Because when I was first empathic, I was taking on every damn thing. Okay. I was just mad about other people's shit. You know what I'm saying? I was, sad and just crying because so and so going through this. That was just a very imbalanced way to be. I have to have some control over my own emotional body and emotional state if I'm ever to be able to be of some assistance to help to change the energy in somebody else. So you want to make sure that you're aware of your own body awareness meditation. That can be a static dancing, that could be a static movement, that could be tapping, things like that, in a form that's meditative, so that you are in tune with your body and where you are right now in the present. Okay. Energy work, that's going to help you know the difference between your energy and somebody else's. Empathy development, that's going to help you to be able to say you go into a room and you feeling everything, and oh my God, like me personally, it's about to be the Christmas season. I don't go into malls and stuff like that. I definitely don't. I won't be in Walmart for the rest of the year. Okay. Like I won't be in Walmart. I barely go to Walmart as it is, but I will not take my ass into Walmart during the Christmas time. I can't. It's too much crazy. People are, mad and they trying to get this. They materialistic. They going broke off of this. It's dirty in there. Like I can't. So I stay out, and I know that, but empathy development, you may walk into a room somewhere and you feel the energy is off. You want to practice detaching from that energy. And then you want to also, maybe if you're going somewhere where it's a sad environment, let's say a funeral or something like that, you want to be able to hold space and open heart space. You're going to start practicing, so you're activating and practicing as you go through it. Heart chakra opening, any kind of chakra opening exercises are going to be helpful. Very similar to what we're going to be doing in November. So make sure you come to that master class, A Journey Through the Chakras. We're going to be talking about the importance of each chakra, as well as why it's connected to certain stuff. I don't want to get into that. That's a whole nother, that's a class, okay? Clairvoyance, being able to see clearly. Now, dream journaling is very powerful. So if you are somebody who's been having a lot of dreams, usually your spirit guides and ancestors will be trying to reach you through one of these ways as well. Dream journaling is going to be very helpful. So you want to get yourself a journal, and with a pencil or a pen, and have that inside of the book, and then put that underneath your pillow. That way, if you do have a dream, as soon as you wake up, you just grab that sucker and you start writing in it. Because as soon as you get out of the bed and go to brush your teeth and use the bathroom, then you're going to forget it. It shifts and it just goes away. So you want to try to get to dream journaling so that you can start to make sense out of some of the things that you're receiving. And sometimes dreams seem like they make absolutely no sense, and they don't make sense until sometimes 6 months, 9 months down the line. But if you're able to kind of try to keep up with that, it's going to help you to to consciously be able to remember stuff. Let's see, third eye meditation. Once again, come to my chakra, a journey through the chakra class, because we're going to be really getting into a lot of different stuff like that. But once again, you see meditation is in there. Meditation going to be throughout this whole thing. Nature walks. Yay. Like I love nature walks. I really do. Because why? Because I get to practice all of these like at once. I get to hear my ancestors, my spirit guides. I get to connect with the energy of the tree. I get fresh oxygen. I get to be surrounded by the earth and the grounding energy. I get to hear different things, receive downloads. I get better rest. I get a little exercise for the physical body. So nature walk is going to help you. A lot of times you're going to be focusing on colors, different shapes, all of these different things that'll help you become more in tune and more exact with your dreaming as well as your visualizations. Okay. Let's see. Clear cognizant, clear knowing, and activation. That's a good one. That's one of my favorite ones. I used to just know stuff, and my sister used to get so mad because I'd be like, "Oh, this, and this happened." She'd be like, "How do you know that?" I'd be like, "I just know." And she would be like, you can't know that. And that would drive me insane for her to tell me that I couldn't know something that I knew. Okay. So if you clear cognizant, I know you know what I'm talking about. And when my girls were younger and they were teenagers, baby, they couldn't get away with nothing. Let me tell you something. I do everything. I knew everything and I knew how it happened, when it happened, and who it happened with. Boy, they'd be like, dang, she know. But my mama was like that too. So you know what? I'm telling you, we got these gifts. Okay. So what's a way to help to activate that? Trusting your intuition. And I did a podcast episode on that. That is a lot easier said than it is done. Particularly if we haven't raised our frequency to a certain place, because the old pattern and way of being is going to tell us that no, you shouldn't do that, and your intuition is saying do it, and you like, well, and now you're in the middle, but really your intuition is always on point, like every single time. And so when you decide to do the other thing because you don't believe that you are worthy of having that, or whatever the issue is that's blocking you from that, guess what you get? You get a lesson. You get a lesson as to why you should have trusted your intuition in the first place. Okay. Meditation. Here we go again. Mindfulness meditation, just sitting there and being mindful. You got to know what's going on in your head before you can go branching out to some of this other stuff. You got to be able to silence that mind, get quiet and focus, because the more you meditate, the more you'll be able to do it at will. And I think it's important to know that meditation does not have to be some big elaborate kind of event. Okay. You can be at work and then people getting on your nerves, and go step and sit yourself in the car, take 5 minutes to calm and chill out, get your focus better, get your moods better, reduce your heart rate, look better longer. The benefits are on and on and on, but it's going to help you to be more in tune with your energy body when you walk back into that place. Now, all of a sudden, you're not engaging in whatever they got going on. Okay. So, definitely mindfulness meditation. Once again, journaling is always amazing. I do a lot of journaling on Substack as well. Affirmations are going to also be helpful for all of these. I trust my inner knowing. I am connected to my divine wisdom. Whatever you need to do to shake up that frequency, get that frequency back to balance, so that you can start to activate who you truly are. Okay. Now I know your girl, that's why I said this was like a mini class in this podcast. Okay. But Spirit was like, go for it, and I wanted to definitely just, I wanted to put that out there. I just felt like I needed to do that because I feel like there's people who are seeking and who are wanting to know. And I remember in the beginning of my journey being like, wow, this is a lot. It's a lot of stuff going on. It's so cool. It's like so much better than the freaking regular 3D shit they giving and serving up. And I wanted to get involved in everything, and I wanted to activate so many different things. And so hopefully I gave you guys a lot of guidance and insight as to where to start. And hopefully it taps something with inside of your own DNA and your own intuition, for you be like, yeah, yeah, if you're like definitely like, yeah, I need to do that. Yeah, I knew it. Like, your clear cognizant is like, yeah, I know I should be doing that. And if your ancestors are in your ear like, what she said. then you know. And it's a beautiful experience because, like I said, you're going to learn more about yourself. You're going to learn more about your gifts and your abilities. You're going to be able to have more control of these different things. It's going to help you astronomically throughout your life and in dealing with other people. And it's going to help you just to grow and evolve spiritually as a whole. Okay. So I'm not going to tie you guys and hold you hostage anymore. Like I said, if you want a more in depth of everything that I went over, be sure to check my Substack out. I'm going to make sure I do a blog on this one because this should be spread out to more people. And I know there's readers out there as well. And once again, stay tuned for the next episode. I've got plenty of guests out there dropping their knowledge, expertise, and wisdom. I mean, breaking it down. And I got so many exciting things planned for you guys in 2025, Age of the Aquarius. This is what I was born for. Okay. And then, of course, in November, I'm going to be having the Journey Through the Chakras Masterclass, where we're going to actually start talking about balancing some of these chakras. That's powerful too, y'all. A lot of this stuff is basic information for people who've been on the path for a long time, but the basics and the foundations never get old. And this is what you need to learn first, because this is going to allow you to, along your journey, you're going to be on the wagon, you're going to be off the wagon. And sometimes you're going to be like, man, I need to get back to my meditation. I need to get back to yoga and stuff like that. And these basics will always be there and you'll always have that foundation. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. And I can't wait to see you on the next podcast episode. To the next one.